Brother Bennie Wilkerson, preacher, brother.
Rachel was one of God's angels. You had to know her. You had to know her. She battled this thing called cancer before years. And she could still sense God's with her about 3 weeks ago and had an opportunity to spend 4 days with her. And she tried to make this transition from earth to glory. Like anyone else, it was difficult. She did not want to die. So I had come up with some words to help her in this transition, to help ease her mind that is appointed unto man once to die, and after death comes the judgment. I'm going to share with you what I shared with her. To learn how to cross our T's. We have to learn. I'm going to do it like I'm going to do it. You remember in grade school when you were learning script, and the teacher always said, don't forget to cross your T's. We have to learn how to deal with our trials, deal with our tribulation. And if we don't deal with our trials and our tribulation, we're not going to be successful with our trials. You see, trials and tribulations hit us all. We find ourselves in situations that we didn't plan on being in. Those are some trials. Those are some tribulations. When James said, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptation. How in the world can we count it all joy when we find ourselves in situations such as these? The death of a loved one can bring out the good, the bad, and the ugly. Amen, somebody. Amen. But yet James said, we can count it all joy. How? When folk coming at you with all types of foolishness, what they think ought to happen, how they think things ought to go. James still said, you need to count it all joy. When emotions are running high, folk mean well, but just don't know what to say. James still says, count it all joy. But you know what I like about God? He didn't just say, count it all joy, without helping us to understand, in the midst of all our hurts, our habits, and our hang-ups, he said, count it all joy when you find yourself in diverse temptation in situations you didn't plan on being in. He says, know me. Y'all, there's some things we just ought to know. And if you don't see it right, you're not going to respond right to the situation. So we better make sure that we understand and know what it is that we ought to know. Now, for those of you who knew my sister, you knew she didn't like no mess. I'm talking to the family right now. Amen, somebody. I'm talking to the family right now. In the midst of all this, Larry don't need your woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yeah. See, folk been coming at him. And I told him to send them to me. You see, these arrangements, Rondetta, isn't that right? These were done months ago. Isn't that right? Amen, somebody. Folk talking about, Larry had to make a decision that really wasn't his decision, but it was Rachel's decision. Oh, y'all gonna help me here. I'm just talking about some things that we need to know. If you knew her, she didn't like no mess. She loved family, but she loved and adored Larry. She put her trust in God, but she trusted he's gonna make some decisions, and hard decisions that y'all wasn't gonna like. Oh, y'all gonna help me here. I think about many of us who knew her, who had 49 years with her. What were you going to tell her or say to her in 24 hours that you didn't have enough time to say in 49 years? Y'all gonna help me here. So, if you knew her, if you loved her, you know she loved him. I'm just talking about there's some things we just ought to know. If you knew her, she understood that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and is called according to his purpose. The gospel calls us to his purpose. She was a child of God. She erred, as many of us do. but she remembered her first love. There are just some things we ought to know. We ought to know that God's going to supply our every need according to his riches and his glory. Is that all right? There are just some things we ought to know. If we're going to count it all joy, in the midst of our grieving, James said that we can still have some joy. You see, joy has to do with something that's in you, and not happiness, which is based on your outward circumstances. I don't feel good. I'm not happy that my sister's gone. But I have joy. See, I didn't miss your shout. This ain't the shout crew. You missed your shout. But I have joy because I know what was in her is the same thing that's in me. That if I prepare myself, I see again. There's just some things you ought to know. If you're going to count it all joy, there's some things you just have to know. And let me leave you with this. You have to know. And y'all walk with me here. I'm looking at Psalms 23. That old familiar passage. But do we really understand that the Lord is my shepherd? He is my personal pronoun. He ain't yours. He's mine. Y'all shout again. Somebody ought to help me here. He said mine too. See, I can't talk about you, but I can talk about me. So when I find myself in this situation, though hurt as I may be, the Lord is my shepherd. We must have a relationship with the shepherd if we're going to get through this thing here. Oh, y'all going to help me here. The Lord is my shepherd, and because he's my shepherd, I shall not want. He supplies my every need. Isn't that right? He maketh me. Y'all know a sheep is the dumbest animal that God ever created. Yet he calls us and refers to us as sheep. He said, I shall not want. He maketh me. You know we can be some stubborn folk. Huh? We think because we grown, we can make decisions all on our own. Huh? But the Lord has another plan for us. Our plans are not necessarily his plans. The doctors thought this thing was going to happen real quick. They didn't give her these 4 years that he gave her. So because they made the prediction, he had to make them shut up. He said, I'm going to make you to lie down in green pastures. She's better off now than she was. But he didn't stop. He said, he restores my soul. He restores my soul. What is that restore all about? When you can't sleep, when you're crying, amen, somebody. Amen. When we miss her, he said, don't worry about it. He said, I will restore your soul. Isn't that right? He's going to restore your soul. But be ready. Be ready. Because you're going to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He said, don't fear. But you're going to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. This grief process, nobody has a time limit on grief. But you got to make sure you handle it right. I said you better make sure you handle it right. He said, yea, though I walk. Don't bypass walk. Don't bypass walk. Don't let nobody rush you through your valley. You missed the shout again. You're going to be in the valley. But don't let nobody rush you through your walk. Many times we miss the lesson that God is trying to teach us because we're in a hurry to get through our valley. We're in a rush and we start running because we don't like what the valley has to give. Nobody likes to be in the valley, but God got lessons in the valley. He said, it looks bad, but it ain't bad. It's just a shadow. It looks like you're going to be discombobulated. It looks like you don't know how you're going to go on. But he's headed while you're in the valley. If you don't see it right, you ain't going to respond right. Huh? If you want to see her again, you got to get where she was. I said if you want to see her again, you got to get where she was. She was in the Lord. She said the Lord is my shepherd. I wasn't perfect, but I knew who I belonged to. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I'm walking through the valley. Huh? I'm not going to fear no evil. Why? Because he's with me. Huh? He's with me. Brother Joe, I don't know how I'm standing up here right about now. But I know he got me. Amen, somebody. Amen. I know what she would want me to say. Y'all with me? Let me give you this last thing. Can I just give you this last thing? And I'm going to turn it back over to Brother Joseph. Larry, I need your chair right here. And I need you in it. Page 7. He leads me beside the still waters. Y'all need to put that stuff down for a second. Y'all need to put that down. waters. You want a peace of mind? Allow God to lead you. He leads me beside the still waters. His rod and his staff, it comforts me. All the days of my life, you want some comfort, you need his rod and you need his staff. The Lord is leading. He's leading. His rod and his staff, it comforts me, Brother Davis, Brother Joseph. And goodness and mercy, it follows me.
Yes, sir.
All the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Although I'm in my trial, although I'm dealing with my tribulation, I can have victory because I'm surrounded by God.
Amen.
Thank you, my brother.
Amen.
How? You do. How in the world are we going to get through this thing? By being surrounded by God. Rachel was one of God's angels. She was my sister. And I'm going to miss her. I'm going to miss her laugh. And if you didn't know her, she has some jokes for you. I'm talking about those ones that go like this. Yeah, she was good with that. Larry, you probably got punched a whole lot. And the last thing, y'all heard it in the obituary, that she never met a stranger. Every child that came in her presence got attached. And let me help you with this monkey up here. Rachel always said she's not going to have any children. She's going to have monkeys. But all of her nephews, her niece, she loved them all. Every child that she came in contact with, she made an impression on their life, and they made an impression on hers. She's going to be missed, but she's going to forever live in all of our hearts.
Amen.
Appreciate you guys for coming, paying your respects. And you know, honestly, I didn't expect all this. That's why I ain't make that many obituaries. And we ran out. And I had to go get some more made. But it's all good. Hope you take a minute to look at the video as we remember my dear sister and what she meant to all of us. But more importantly, what she meant to the Lord. Her death is a message. It needs to be a message of love, because she didn't have an evil bone in her body at all. I can tell you, I'll take that to my grave. She was the first to forgive. Didn't hold a grudge on nobody. And she loved people. She loved family. And she loved this man. And he loved her. Y'all just want to grow on.